And then after I'm done writing these little scripts, on the next day probably I would start filming, and I would film like 10, 20 videos each time. And to be quite honest, I enjoy editing these, like me sitting down saying stuff to the camera. It's way easier to edit because I'm just sitting down. What's harder to edit is actually when I go out and I film stuff outside, and I would end up with like multiple clips that I would have to put together, and then I would have to pick apart which part of each clip I want to put in. Now that is hard. That is exhausting. But I'm lucky with my educational content because I guess I get to just sit down and film like one video.
Apa kabar? Hey, welcome back to the pod. I am an American. I've been in Indonesia for 7, 8 years, a long time. I'm terrible at speaking Bahasa. Everyone at the office uh, reminds me, on a daily basis, that I basically can only speak enough Bahasa to get around in a taxi. And even then, if the taxi driver deviates from like the map, I have no idea how to tell him like, hey, you're going the wrong way, or this is a lot of traffic, etc. Right? I know my chat. But point being, my Indonesian Bahasa sucks. So one of the things that I've done is I've been going on Instagram trying to find, some people to kind of learn from. And I stumbled across Indonesian with Lauren Karina. She's a content creator, and I really enjoy her content because she makes learning Indonesian very interesting, right? So she takes different concepts, both proper grammatical bahasa as well as like slang terms. And then she edits everything in a way that's fast, that's engaging, that's like a very unique style. And I was just kind of drawn to it, right? And so I've been, as I was watching, and I realized, hey, I can interview this person for the pod because I think they have a great sense of how to create interesting content and doing it with their own unique spin. So I have a really lovely conversation with Lauren about her background, how she started creating content. Weirdly enough, we both spent time in Wisconsin, um, so that's not very common here in Indonesia. But I think we have a great episode for you today. Hope you enjoy it. Remember to subscribe. Now on to the episode. Hi, Lauren. Welcome to the pod.
Hi, hi. I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, so you go by the name Indonesian with Lauren.
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's
So
what
can
my platform's
you
called. Mm-hmm.
before we kind of dive into your background, just kind of describe your channel to the audience?
Yeah, so I basically make educational content teaching foreigners how to speak Indonesian on Instagram and TikTok. Uh, and yeah, it's been going on for the past like year. I started in September 2022, and I really didn't expect that it's gonna, get this big because it's educational. Like, how fun can it get? Like, how many people open their phones and be like, "Hey, I want to study Indonesian," you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, people dig it, seems like.
No, I mean, I am one of those people who dig it. Uh I will screenshot some of your graphics, and
Really?
I have like a folder. Um, don't quiz me on it because I won't do well. But I think like, you're creating this educational content, but you know, you started not that long ago. So how did you get started? Why did you want to get started? Do you have like a teaching background?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story. So I've always been a nerd for as long as I know, my entire life basically. I didn't really like make a lot of friends during school because I was just so busy of just like reading and like studying. And I have like this weird thing where I would like open a dictionary and try to memorize the words. That's how I learned English initially. And like as I grew up, I became an interpreter, like a simultaneous interpreter. So I would like go into events and then like translate in real time. And because like I keep interacting with like those two languages, Indonesian and English, over time I felt like I started to notice like a pattern between these two languages. And I started questioning myself, like, okay, like how do I translate this phrase to Indonesian and vice versa? And then these patterns, like they're kind of just are just ingrained into my head, and I just felt like, okay, what do I do with this information? Because this is like the kind of information that doesn't exist on your average textbook, and there's like a big lack of resources when it comes to learning the Indonesian language online. You can look it up and like, you can't really find much, especially in colloquial Indonesian. So one day I just decided to like sit down and film myself, make content about it, and like people liked it. So I just kept going, and here I am.
Yeah. So you uh, did you study abroad? Like you have very, very good English, right? So
Uh, Thank
where
you.
where did that side of it come from?
Oh, well, I did study in the US for a little bit. I was a student, an exchange student. I was in this program sponsored by Rotary International, and it was during high school, and it was only for a year, and yeah. But before that, I already spoke English as well. But I guess like being in the US kind of like cemented this like accent, I think.
Yeah.
Like people tell me that I kind of like had to have a Midwestern accent, and I think that makes sense because I was in Wisconsin for a little bit.
Wait. Do you know where I grew up?
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Wisconsin.
Which part of Wisconsin?
I grew up in the suburbs of Milwaukee, and then I went to school at Madison.
Oh my God. I was in Madison December 2023, like last
Mm,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
I was just visiting. Yeah. Oh my God, that's
Small
so
world.
cool. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I still get uh the teasing of the Midwestern accent, but welcome.
Yeah. No, but like most people, unless they've been to the US or they're like very like, well versed in the American accent, they don't really notice that it's a Midwestern accent. But when I come across Americans, they would be like, why do you have a Wisconsin accent?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know how Wisconsin I sound, but apparently a little bit at least.
It only comes out for me in the like the A's, like
The
when I say
A's.
like bag.
Bag. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wild, wild. So, okay, so you studied abroad, but only for like a little while, right? But you
Yeah.
developed this accent. You have a very strong grasp of English. You've been back in Indonesia, and um, take me back to September, right? September 2022.
Yeah.
That's when you said you decided to press record. Like, was this just kind of a creative outlet, or were you like, hey, I want to be an online content creator who makes money from this?
No, I didn't come into this with a financial, outlook in the beginning. You know what? I don't know if this will be funny to you, but like one of my dreams is actually to get an MBA. Um and like, I want to study abroad for my MBA. It's still a dream. I haven't like gotten around to achieving it, but like I just figured that like, okay, if I'm gonna study abroad, I'm gonna need a scholarship. And like how do I like, like get like a scholarship interested in like funding me? What's special about me? And so like I started this account. I just thought that like, okay, maybe I can just like do something educational, do something useful. And yeah, and now here I am. It's kind of taken off for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I have ideas why it's taken off, but I think, I have some questions about like your posting, all that. We'll get to that, but like y- I want to go back to the entertainment part of it. So
Hmm.
you're combining the entertainment and the education aspects of it, right?
Yeah.
So, uh, you know, I think I looked at one of your testimonials, right, where someone was like, "Oh, Duolingo, you log in, right? It's pretty boring, but Indonesian with Lauren is much more entertaining and engaging, right? Like your videos have this distinct style, both in terms of storytelling, where you edit like footage as well as large graphics so you can visually see the
Mhm,
English and the Indonesian words. And then
mhm.
you have like this playful personality that kind of pulls it all together, right?
Thank you.
Um, but I think one of the things for me when well, one, I want to understand like why you kind of chose that or how you've kind of evolved into that distinct editing creative style when you were
Ooh.
approaching your content.
To be quite honest, it took a while to figure out my own style, and I think that goes for every single content creator out there. I feel like it takes a while to find something that, you just feels like you. And it took a while for me to figure that out as well. When I first started making content, I didn't have an iPhone. I was just filming with this like really old, like blurry Samsung phone. And for some reason, there was this guy, and shout out to this guy because he's amazing. He's great. He's a great person. I don't know if you know him, but he's called Who in the World? His name's Damien. Do you know him?
He's scheduled to be on the pod next week.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So I was really small back then. I think I had like 3,000 followers or something. But he sent me a DM and something along the lines of like, "Kid, I think you're gonna be big." And he's like, are you like I think you live in Jogja, right? Like I'm gonna be in this city like next week. Like, do you want to meet up? And so I met up with him and then like we just had like this like long conversation and like he gave me like a lot of tips on like, how to become a better content creator. And like we like watched like some of my videos and then he gave me like inputs into like, okay, don't do this, do that. You know? When you like make sure that to make your content as concise as possible, like make sure that you don't overwhelm the viewers with like too many images on screen, like make sure that they know what to pay attention to. Um, and that's really helpful. And like I think like his encouragement, like his faith in me is really, yeah, I owe him a lot, because at that point I was just like this little content creator, like a little nobody, and like but he believed in me, I suppose, as cliche as that sounds. But as in terms of like just finding the right font, I kind of like took inspiration from like my dad, who is a business owner, and like when I was little, he used to tell me that like for people to pay attention to your business, you gotta like let go of this like feeling that you have to appear classy because people don't want classy. And I think what there's some truth in what he says. People want something that is like something that is out there, something that is eccentric, something that would pull their attention to it. It doesn't matter if it looks tacky. It just has to look distinctive enough that they would know that it's you. So that's why I pick the yellow font for my text. And I think that kind of just become my signature style for yeah, after a while. And I think like I'm not afraid to go a bit like unhinged with my content. And I think th that's something that like having spoken with like other content creators and like people who know me in real life, they're like, how do you like get the courage to like do this? Like, how did you think of this? Like, I would add like random explosions. I would add like random stickers and effects into my videos, and that like has no correlation whatsoever with the content I'm making, but I do it anyway. And it's insane sometimes, and it just, it's nonsensical. And but sometimes I feel like it takes that little courage of just like not giving a can I swear in this podcast?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, of just like not giving a fuck as to like whether or not people think you're crazy. Because I feel like it's the crazy people who make it out there. People who dare to be different, people who are not constrained by like this limitations of like appearing fine and like appearing polished and everything. Yeah, I guess.
No, I mean, I think that's key for any content creator, is to get past that, right? And
Yeah, that's true.
but like so I'm gonna ask the question these people are asking you, right? So I understand that you got past it, but like what you just made a determination, I'm not gonna give a fuck. I'm just gonna do what I want to do.
Hmm.
Or did you do like little baby steps and then you realize that like, oh, it's not so bad. I can do a little bit more. I can do a little bit more.
Yeah. I took it with little baby steps. I mean, like most of my content is literally just me sitting in my room and just like speaking to the camera, right? So I think I got it lucky there because like, making educational content, it's about the knowledge that you deliver to people, right? But I feel like it's gonna be a different experience for other content creators that say they make comedy content, right? That way they gotta be like really brave from the get-go probably. But me, I think like I kind of have the luxury to keep it safe if I want to. So I kind of like built the confidence gradually. Like it took a while before like I kind of just went like, okay, what if I film some content outside? And I think one of my best friends is a photographer, and I think he actually really helped encourage me to do that. He's like, you know what? Like, please let's just go out. Let's just film stuff. I'll film you, and like people are gonna stare, but who cares? You know? You're the content creator here. People actually watch your content, so like why what is there to be ashamed about? And an experience that like sticks with me up till this day is there was this one point in time there was this was like about like, a year ago. I wasn't like this well known. I had like way less followers back then. I had like 8,000 followers I think at that point, and I was dating someone, and this person like was so ashamed of the idea of me filming in public. And like whenever like we're together and I try to film in public, he would like he would like pretend like he doesn't know me. Yeah, he would like actually like literally just physically step away and just kind of like stand in the corner like with his chest crossed or something and be like, I don't know this girl, like this crazy girl who's like filming in public. And I kind of it's kind of disheartening at the time, but looking back, I feel like I think it made me realize that like not everyone is meant for this kind of life. And I feel like I get like why you would feel ashamed like going up to like a crowd and be like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if anybody stares. I don't give a fuck if anybody thinks I'm crazy. I'm just gonna do what I want to do, you know? I'm not bothering people, so why should I feel ashamed? So I think it takes like a lot of courage to be a content creator, and I feel like we don't appreciate that enough out of these content creators.
Yeah, I've tried to be a content creator in multiple times in my life.
Yeah?
And look, I have a food Instagram, right? But
Mm.
I it was meant to be like I love food, YouTube. I love travel. I love going to places and I love trying things. But the
Yeah.
first time that I pulled out my phone and tried to like record a like a a testimony of like, oh hey, I'm trying, like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I took a different route, but I think, it is something that you have to make a choice of I gotta this is what I want to do. I gotta get
Yeah.
over this. And to be honest, I know that no one else cares, right? When you're at the restaurant, you're out and about, like it's not new that people are recording. So,
Hmm.
um, but it's interesting that, your I'm assuming then boyfriend, or partner, had issue with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about your curriculum. Well, let's just call it a curriculum.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I think you do really well and is interesting is you teach, and I think you touched on it, but you teach language how it's spoken, not like by the book, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like you touch on slang, right?
Hmm.
That is commonly used that if I'm learning Indonesian, I should know this word because this is what people are going to be saying to me. This is what I'm going to be saying. But when you go to a Duolingo or you go to this whatever executive book that I have,
Yeah.
um, it tells you like I want to eat, and then It's but that's not how you speak, right? So like,
Right.
how are you? One, how are you coming up with like these slang terms that you think people need to learn?
Okay.
And two, how do you balance the lesson, let's just call them lessons videos, of kind of some more of the proper uh language construction versus the slang, right? I can repeat
Okay.
those, but
Okay. Yeah. So now that is like here's the thing. And this is something that people who are not exposed to the Indonesian language would not realize is how different the formal versus informal language are. Because like it's a completely different language. The way you would speak formally in Indonesian in comparison to the colloquial version of the language, they're completely different languages. And what I found when I first started teaching Indonesian, and in my experience as a translator as well as an interpreter, I tried to look up online, okay? Like, okay, how do you translate this phrase? How do you translate this word from English to Indonesian? Like, is there a word for it? Is there a term for it? How do you explain this concept? Because English is a language that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. So it had like, decades, like hundreds of years ahead in development. So you guys have like a lot more words to describe things. Indonesian, it's kind of new as a language. So it's still in development. We are missing a lot of words, and I acknowledge that. But what's also interesting about the Indonesian language is because it is new, the curriculum to teach it is pretty much understudied. There's not enough study that covers how to, teach a lot of concepts in the language still. And there's this curriculum that was developed by the Ministry of Education. So you can call it like the official curriculum to teach the Indonesian language, right? And then I checked it out and I opened it and studied it and I felt like, man, literally nobody speaks this way. And this is like the official curriculum. And this is what the curriculum that I would assume a lot of language schools would use to teach their students. And that is why when I meet people who went to these schools and who learned Indonesian from these schools, they would go to the public, to the world and be like, holy shit, I graduated from this thing, language school, I should be able to speak Indonesian. But then when they actually hear an Indonesian speak, they would not understand a thing. And they're like, what the hell did I spend? Like, what the hell did I learn at that school then? Why did I learn all these for several years? It's useless. And so, and resources to learn the colloquial part of the language is non-existent, basically. Like there's no official curriculum that can teach you colloquial Indonesian. And that is the sad part. And so what I do, and this might sound crazy, but because I am a nerd and I just love like sitting down and studying stuff, I just sit down and think about like a specific word in the colloquial part of Indonesian and just think about like, okay, what is the pattern to this word? When do you say it? Where is it placed in a sentence? And I would just kind of toy with it. I know it sounds like I'm weird. I am weird, I guess. Like this is how I have fun and just try to like solve a puzzle, so to speak. And yeah, I turned this into like bite-sized content and I put the rest if the concept is too long to explain, I just put it up on my website and I sell courses and the buyers get to access like, longer and more cohesive explanation on this concept. And what was the second question again?
um now I've forgotten. But I think basically, I think what I wanted to know was, how do you balance, right? Because if you teach everybody slang
Uh-huh.
all the time,
Yeah.
right? They'll understand, but they're not going to be able to. They're still not going to be able to speak in conversation,
Yeah.
right? There's still elements of proper grammar, structure, uh, words that you need to know, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you just balance not just being like a slang channel, but like you actually are learning both the colloquial versions plus the proper ways to speak, so that at the end of the day your
Mm-hmm.
audience really can speak Bahasa.
Okay. There's it's no rocket science. Like the whole process is just basically like me like interacting with the world around me and interacting with people and seeing like what comes up in the conversations that we're having. I go into making content with the mindset that I am going to teach people the kind of Indonesian that they can speak. Like my goal is not to help you write a thesis, but to be able to communicate with the Indonesian society. And of course, like you said, like some of the formal part of the language is still usable. People use it. The grammatical structure is pretty much still relevant. So that's what I try to balance out. But as in terms of like the kind of like things that like inspire me to make my content, it's usually just based on my interactions with people and my students. And they would sometimes come up to me with things that they're struggling to understand, a certain concept, and I would just be like, okay, I can make a content about this. I can explain this. I know how to explain this in 30 seconds. So let's make it happen, you know? There's no particular structure in the way I go about it.
Okay, so that was kind of one of my next questions, right?
Yeah.
You as people become more professional, you get bigger audiences, right? Your audience wants to they want to see you, right? So
Hmm.
you can't post every 10 days, every 12 days, right? There's got to be like a shorter cadence, right?
Hmm.
So and you have and with your content, right, it's also different because you're not just putting on the camera and talking, right? That's part of it, but you do have the graphical element, you do have the footage and editing element to it,
Yeah.
right? So like you said that you're having conversations with people, you're kind of pulling from that inspiration, you're having these self-reflective moments where you're thinking about words and then diving into the origins, etc. But like, are you mapping out the topics ahead of time, or you just say, you and I have a conversation, then like something comes to mind, so you're gonna be all right. Tomorrow, I'm gonna create a video around that, and then do you just like make it start to finish? Do you have like different videos in different stages? Like, can you just kind of describe that planning
Hmm.
and creative process?
Okay, so I would say that I am not the most disciplined person ever, so I think like somebody out there must be more organized than I am. And what I do is, when I'm interacting with these people or when an idea comes to mind when I'm hanging out with my friends, for example, I would take out my phone and just like write down like the gist of this idea, like just the basic title of like what this idea is about. And then, when it's like maybe like a few days later, I would actually sit down and create a specific document that I call my content bank, and I would write these little scripts. And each time I would write around like 20 to 30 different scripts, you know? And it can the time that I spend on these scripts vary depending on like how long or like how complex I want them to be. But in these scripts are really simple, because we're talking about 30 to 1 minute, you know, videos. So they're not long at all, and I don't put too much details. I just put in the things that I literally want to say, word per word. And then after I'm done writing these little scripts, on the next day probably I would start filming, and I would film like 10, 20 videos each time. And to be quite honest, I enjoy editing these like me sitting down saying stuff to the camera. It's way easier to edit because I'm just sitting down. What's harder to edit is actually when I go out and I film stuff outside, and I would end up with like multiple clips that I would have to put together, and then I would have to pick apart which part of each clip I want to put in. Now that is hard. That is exhausting. But, I'm lucky with my educational content because I guess I get to just sit down and film like one video.
What um what is more popular? The content where you're just sitting down, or the content where you're out in Jogja?
You know what's interesting? Like my most popular videos are literally videos of me just sitting down and saying stuff. And so I guess I'm lucky with that. I guess people like me sitting down and saying stuff
Yeah.
for some reason.
That's no, no, that's great. I think, it's good to keep it keep it new, but
Hmm.
you know, definitely you're onto something if that's the kind of thing that people are resonating towards. Um just out of curiosity, what
Mhm.
software are you using to edit your content?
Oh, it's simple. It's CapCut.
Okay, okay.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, but
the
yeah,
TikTok app.
yeah, not everybody would like it, but I like it. It's simple to me. Yeah.
Uh, Look, it's very popular because it's simple, but that's uh that's good to know that that's what you're using. I want to get you out on this, right? I think you
hmm
kind of touched on it, but like if you had one piece of advice for someone who's starting out with their content career, what would it be?
It would be to be shameless, you know? That's the first and foremost thing that you have to remember. Because if you want to make it as a content creator, you gotta stand out in a crowd of like millions and millions of other people. So don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to experiment. And at first, I don't know if everybody, if like this goes with like other creators, but like at first when I first started making content, my friends actually like go up to me and strangers on the internet go up to me and they're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you filming these content? Nobody's watching them. Who wants to learn Indonesian? Why don't you just teach English? And I'm like, yo, bro, shut up. This is what I want to do. So I just kept going with it. So if you have a vision and you believe in it, trust in it. And yeah, and also this is I don't know if I'm gonna get canceled for this advice, but um do not do not shy away from investing in your craft. So and like if you get the chance to, afford a better phone, get a better phone because that's actually gonna improve your content creation process by a mile.
I
Yeah.
don't I don't see why anyone would want to cancel you for that. No, but I think that that's really good sound advice. Um, Lauren, thank you so much for the
Mm,
time. It's
no
been a
problem,
pleasure.
man. Thank you. Thank you so much for, sitting down with me and having this talk. It's an honor.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the pod. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned some valuable lessons. We'll put links to all the social media down in the description. If you're an agency, don't forget to go to slice.id and sign up for a free trial or hit me up, Jesse at slice.id, and I can give you a demo. Content creators, also, you can go to slice.id and check out what we have for you. Thank you so much. Follow us on social media. Join Slice on all the social media platforms. Thank you and see you next time.